Hello students, we have learned the first chapter as heredity and evolution. Today we are going to learn second chapter, that is life processes in living organism, part first. We have studied what is meant by life process in detail and certain other things also. Let us recall. First is the foodstuffs and the nutrients. What are various foodstuffs and what nutrients are there in those foodstuffs? We know in a daily lunch or dinner, we take chapati, rice, dal. All these are the various types of foodstuffs. And we know the nutrients also, that we eat carbohydrates, proteins, then fats. All these nutrient materials are very important for our life processes. Second one, that is importance of various systems. We know that in our body there are several systems that are working in coordination. Our organ system consists of the digestive system, respiratory system, then the excretory system. Many systems, many organ systems are working in our body simultaneously. And there are some external organs and internal organs, they are also in action. For getting this smooth action, for the harmony or the hemostasis, we need the energy. And we know that we get energy from these food materials. So those are very, very important and we get energy from those. Now let us study that how and in what way the energy is derived from all these nutrients. Let us study first the living various systems, then the sources. We have various sources, some plant sources, some animal sources from which we get all these nutrients. Then you know that the plants, they are producers. Plants are autotrophic in nature. So plants will produce all these food materials for us and we are consumer. Human as well as the animals are the consumers. So we consume it to get the energy, and this energy is utilized for all these activities that are happening in our body. So understand that the human and animals, that we are consumers, and the plants, they are the producers from which we get the energy. Now let us study what are the nutrients and how much energy that is derived. We know an ATP is the currency, it is said to be the currency of energy. And from carbohydrates, from 1 gram of carbohydrate, we get 4 kilocalories. Then the carbohydrates are the main source of energy as a daily need. The energy is derived from each and every nutrient, but first for day-to-day activities, the energy which is derived from carbohydrates is utilized first. And then if it is the need of that energy is served properly, then the energy derived from the proteins, that is used for the bodybuilding. And thereafter the next turn, that is of fats. So as we have the defense system, soldiers are there, then officials are there. In the same way, first the need of the energy that is served by carbohydrates first, then come the proteins, and thereafter the fats. In this way, energy is derived. This energy is used for our day-to-day activities, for internal activities. Not only the energy that is derived from the food material is essential, but oxygen, that is also important. Oxygen, we call it as a prana vayu. So oxygen is important for our life. It is derived from the blood circulation, as we know. all this energy that is harvested in the mitochondria. So first understand that all these life processes, once again I repeat that the life processes are the processes, day-to-day activities without which human being or any organism cannot survive. For our survival, all these activities are necessary, that we call as a life processes. And for all these activities to go it smoothly, we require the energy. So energy production that is done with the nutrients. So carbohydrates, protein, fats. Fats are important, and fats give us the 9 kilocalories. From 1 gram of fat, we get the 9 kilocalories of energy, means more than the double. So as well, the importance of fat, that fats give us give satiety, means trupti. When we eat chapati and when we eat puri, we like puri more because it gives satiety. That is the special characteristics of the fats. And several other functions of carbohydrates, protein, and all of the nutrients are there. Now, at this juncture, it is sufficient that energy production is done with all these food material, and thereafter we have to study that the living organism and the energy production, how, in what way energy is actually produced. Now let us study that the living organism and the energy production. Energy production, that is the main activity which is done in our body, and it is through the respiration. When we study the respiration, we have already studied that respiration needs the two aspects. First, that is the breathing, as we call, as it is the only gaseous exchange. We means the animals that consume the oxygen and we release the carbon dioxide, whereas the plants, they consume the oxygen, carbon dioxide and release the oxygen. Exactly opposite process of respiration is there in the plants and the animals. So respiration, which is called as the body level, when only the gaseous exchange is concerned. The next level, that is the cellular level. In the cellular level, there are again two types. The oxidation of food material, means when you recall the definition of respiration, one, that is respiration means gaseous exchange, and the second means the cellular level. It is at the cellular level, which is also called as the internal respiration, external respiration and internal respiration. In the internal respiration, that is called as cellular. The external, that takes place at the body level, and the internal respiration, it takes place at the cellular level. Then again, there are two types of respiration. One is called as the aerobic respiration, and another is called as the anaerobic respiration. The name itself indicates that aerobic means the respiration which is carried out in presence of oxygen, and anaerobic respiration, that is the respiration which is carried out in absence of oxygen. Now again, further types are there. This respiration, that is the aerobic respiration, that is carried out in the two steps. Now let us study these two steps. First, that is the glycolysis, and next, that is the tricarboxylic acid cycle. Okay, until then, do you understand all this? First, I'll sum up once again that the living organism and the life processes, various systems, they are working, and simultaneously all these systems are working, and so they need a kind of coordination. All these systems, they are coordinated. They are behaving and maintaining a coordination between all of these systems. Next, that is the various sources. We studied various sources of energy, that are the nutrients and the energy that is derived, the amount of energy that is derived from the various types of sources. Then the producers, that plants, and the consumers, that human and animals are there. Living organism, they first, there are various systems as well the important system, that is the respiration and the energy that is derived with the respiration. So respiration is said to be the oxidation of food material, and so glucose is oxidized. Then two levels, body level and the cellular level. And again cellular level, that is divided into aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration, again two, that is glycolysis and the TCA cycle. Now let us study all these in detail. Okay. Aerobic respiration, we studied that aerobic and anaerobic respirations are the two steps of respiration. Respiration, that is aerobic respiration, is carried out in three different steps. Let us study all these steps. First step, that is the process of glycolysis. Glyco means glucose and lysis means breakdown. Breakdown of glucose, that is called as the glycolysis. Here glucose, it undergoes oxidation to get two molecules of pyruvic acid, two molecules of ATP, two molecules of NADH2 and two molecules of water. NADH2 that is produced. Next, this process, it occurs in the cytoplasm. Then the pyruvic acid, that is 3-carbon compound, this pyruvic acid, then it is converted into acetyl coenzyme A, NADH2 and CO2. This is the first step, that is called as the glycolysis, and as I told, it occurs in cytoplasm. The second step, that is tricarboxylic acid cycle, it is also known as the TCA cycle. Here we got the acetyl coenzyme A. The acetyl part of acetyl coenzyme A, that is oxidized to get carbon dioxide, water, NADH2 and FADH2. Here NADH2, that is the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, flavin adenine dinucleotide. Here acetyl coenzyme A, that is acetyl part of acetyl coenzyme A, undergoes the oxidation. Then this is the second step. Now third step, that is the electron transfer chain reaction. Electron transfer chain reaction that occurs in the mitochondria. Mitochondria is the site of this reaction. The NADH2 and FADH2, which are formed, that undergoes the electron transfer chain reaction. The NADH2 that releases 3 ATPs. 3 ATP molecules are derived from NADH2, 2 ATP molecules are derived from FADH2, water and carbon dioxide. So all these 3 steps involve the complete oxidation of glucose. Here we have studied that ATP, these are the currencies that are said to be the currencies of energy, because this ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate, that contains the various bonds, phosphate bonds by which they are attached, and the nitrogenous base, that is adenine is there, pentose sugar is there, then ribose sugar, and then the phosphate bonds are there. Whenever there is a need of energy, these phosphate bonds are broken down and thereby energy is derived. So these ATP are the energy rich compounds and they are said to be the currencies of energy. So this is all about the various 3 steps of aerobic respiration, that is glycolysis, tricarboxylic acid cycle and the electron transfer chain reaction. Is it okay? Okay, nice. Thank you. Students, we have learned the process of glycolysis, and this process was discovered by Gustav Embden, Otto Meyerhof, Jacob Parnas, EMP. So, in honor of them, this pathway is called as the EMP pathway. The process of glycolysis is also known as EMP pathway. The cyclic reaction that takes place were first discovered by Sir Hans Krebs, and so it is also called as the Krebs cycle. In 1953, Sir Hans Krebs was awarded the Nobel Prize. So this is all about the information introduction to the scientists who discovered the process of glycolysis. So this is all about the process of glycolysis, then TCA cycle, and last, that is the electron transfer. So that is the complete oxidation of glucose. Okay.
Once inside your cells, the process of turning that bite of food into useful energy by cellular respiration begins. The process of digestion results with carbohydrates and other molecules being removed from the consumed food and transported into the bloodstream. From there, nutrients, like the carbohydrate glucose, will leave the bloodstream through a capillary wall and enter a tissue cell. Once inside the cell, cellular respiration will completely oxidize the glucose molecule, releasing high-energy electrons. The overall goal is to make ATP, a storage form of energy for most cells. Cellular respiration is a 4-stage process that begins with glycolysis. Glycolysis literally means splitting sugars, and it is the first step of cellular respiration, occurring in the cytoplasm of the cell. Glycolysis consists of 2 distinct phases, an energy investment phase and an energy harvesting phase. In the energy investment phase, 2 ATP molecules transfer energy to the glucose molecule, forming a 6-carbon sugar diphosphate molecule. This molecule splits, and the energy harvesting phase begins. During this phase, the 2 3-carbon molecules are converted to pyruvate, and ATP is formed. Glycolysis is a 10-step reaction that involves the activity of multiple enzymes and enzyme assistance. In the process, a net of 2 molecules of ATP, 2 molecules of pyruvate, and 2 high-energy electron-carrying molecules of NADH are produced. When oxygen is present, the pyruvate molecules and NADH enter the mitochondria, and the next stage of cellular respiration begins. The next stage of cellular respiration involves the movement of pyruvate into the mitochondria, where it undergoes oxidation. Each pyruvate molecule is converted into a compound called acetyl-CoA. In the process of pyruvate oxidation, electrons are transferred to NAD, producing NADH, and a carbon is lost, forming carbon dioxide. The next stage is the citric acid cycle, also called the Krebs cycle. Here, acetyl-CoA will bind with a starting compound called oxaloacetate, and through a series of enzymatic redox reactions, all carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens in pyruvate ultimately end up as carbon dioxide and water. The pathway is called a cycle because oxaloacetate is the starting and ending compound of the pathway. For every glucose that enters glycolysis, the cycle completes twice, once for each molecule of pyruvate that entered the mitochondria. During pyruvate oxidation and the citric acid cycle, a net of 8 NADH, 2 FADH2, 2 ATP, and 6 CO2 are produced for each glucose molecule. In order to understand how the majority of the energy is produced by aerobic respiration, we need to follow the NADH and FADH2 molecules to the next stage, the electron transport chain.
Energy production. Sometimes, due to the hunger or fasting, the carbohydrates, they are consumed in insufficient amount, and so we do not get the proper energy which is required. So there come the protein and the fats. We know that carbohydrates, they are converted into glucose, proteins into amino acids, fats and fatty acids, fat into the fatty acids. So the amino acids and the fatty acids, they collectively form the acetyl coenzyme A, and this acetyl coenzyme, the oxidation of this acetyl coenzyme A is carried out to get the energy. This process that is carried out in mitochondria, and that is called as the Krebs cycle. So once again, energy production, that is the carbohydrates, they are converted into glucose, proteins into amino acids, fats into fatty acids, and fatty acids and amino acids collectively form the acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A undergoes oxidation and energy is released, and this process occurs in mitochondria, and it is called as the Krebs cycle. Let us study Krebs cycle in detail. In the previous period, we have studied energy production through the aerobic respiration. Now, in this period, we are going to study anaerobic respiration, that is the energy production through the anaerobic respiration. There are so many organisms which cannot live in presence of oxygen, and so they respire in anaerobically. That we have to study. First, understand the process of anaerobic respiration, that is glucose, that undergoes the glycolysis. In the aerobic respiration, we studied that glucose that completely oxidizes. Now here, the incomplete oxidation of glucose occurs, and that's why the energy produced, that is in less amount. Let us study in detail. Glucose that undergoes the glycolysis, and the pyruvic acid is produced. Then this pyruvic acid that is converted into alcohol as well as various types of the acids, organic acids, through the various type of microbes, and that is called as the fermentation. Now let us study one by one. It occurs in 3 different types of microorganisms. First, that is glucose glycolysis, that is the pyruvate is the product. Then pyruvate undergoes the process of fermentation, alcohol is produced, and this is done by yeast. Then next, that is the glucose glycolysis pyruvic acid. It undergoes the fermentation, and various types of products are produced, such as the vinegar or vitamins, and this is carried out by various microorganisms. Then the third type, that is the glucose, it again undergoes the glycolysis, same pyruvic acid is formed. Then the pyruvic acid that is converted into lactic acid, and this process is called as fermentation. This process occurs in our erythrocytes or the muscle cells, and so this is all about the anaerobic respiration. So this respiration, it releases the less amount of ATPs, that is only 2 ATPs are produced. Besides this, sometimes the higher plants or in higher organisms, microorganisms, which are aerobic one, that also sometimes perform the anaerobic respiration in absence of, if sometimes there is a depletion of oxygen, then they also respire anaerobically. In case of this, when the erythrocytes, lactic acid is accumulated. When we exercise rigorously, at that time, you might have experienced that we feel fatigue one, and because only less amount of energy is produced, and that is not sufficient enough to perform the rigorous exercise. So the lactic acid is accumulated there. Now here vinegar and vitamins, these are the various chemicals which are formed through the fermentation. The pyruvic acid undergoes the alcohol fermentation, and alcohol is formed. This is by yeast. So this is all about the anaerobic respiration. Is it okay? We have studied in the previous period, the energy production through aerobic respiration. Now this is the energy production through anaerobic respiration. Okay. This type of anaerobic respiration that is performed in the seeds while germination. If the seeds are underwater, submerged underwater, then these seeds perform the anaerobic respiration. As well, the anaerobic respiration, it occurs in the muscle cells also. These are the two examples. You might have seen when there is a sprouting of seeds, when we eat the sprouted seeds. At that time, this kind of respiration is carried out through the seeds. Okay. Let us study energy from different components. We studied about the various nutrients that are very important for our body activities, out of which let us study that how energy is derived from these nutrients. Let us study, we have studied about the carbohydrates, that carbohydrates perform the function to produce and to meet the basic needs of the activities of the body. Then if the carbohydrates, they are consumed on a larger scale, then these carbohydrates or excess of carbohydrates are stored in liver and muscles in the form of glycogen. Then next, that is the proteins. Proteins, they are macromolecules of various types of many amino acids, and these amino acids are absorbed in the cell, and they are given each and every cell to every cell with the blood or via blood. Then consider here that proteins, they are converted into amino acids, and these amino acids, they are used to get the necessary proteins. If certain proteins are necessary for the body, then these proteins are made available with these amino acids. So that is the thing. Once again, that proteins, they are the macromolecules of many amino acids. These amino acids, they are absorbed in the body, and they are provided to each and every cell via blood. And if there is a necessity of the proteins, then these amino acids, they are used to get the proteins. Let us study that what are the various amino acids and the proteins and how they are useful for the body. Here is a chart. Look at this chart, that amino acids and several types of proteins are there, which are very much necessary for our body. First, let us study that the skin, that is the organ, and melanin and keratin are the various types of proteins used. You know, melanin, that is the pigment which gives color to our skin, hair, as well as the iris. So melanin is produced. The next, that is the bones. For bones, the osine is the protein used. This osine, that brings the strength to the bones, and it prevents the bone loss. We know that if small children they had any kind of fracture, then the bones they are joined very easily. But if this happens with the old age men, then it is difficult to get the bones joined if they are crashed. Then first understand that this brings, oocyte brings, and in absence of this oocyte, the osteoporosis occur, which is very dangerous kind of disease. So it brings the strength to the bone. The next, that various types of cells and the cell membrane proteins are there, which are necessary for our body. Those enzymes are used. Next, that is the pancreas. We know pancreas that secretes two important enzymes. That is first the insulin and another is the trypsin. We know that insulin maintains our glucose level in our blood, and the trypsin that is important in getting the proteins digested. For protein digestion, the trypsin is important. Next, that the pituitary gland secretes many enzymes or hormones which are necessary, that we have studied, that the hormones which are there secreted in the puberty, the estrogen and progesterone, all that. Then next, that is the muscles. In the muscles, actin and myosin, these are the proteins which are necessary in the contraction of bones, contraction of muscles. We know the muscles has a power to contract and relax. For contractile activity, this actin and the myosin, they work together. The next important, that is the blood, that has the important protein as a hemoglobin. This hemoglobin is useful in the oxygen carrying. It is called as the oxygen carrier. So certain antibodies are produced in the blood which are important, which get activated when a kind of antigen is entered in the body. If some foreign antigen is there in the body, then antibodies are created to fight with that antigen. So these are the various types of protein. Once again, I'll repeat. Melanin and keratin, that is the pigment which gives color to the skin, hair and the iris. Oocyte, that is important in the bone strength and the structure. The cell proteins are there which are useful in the protein in the cell membrane. Then insulin and the trypsin, that is for the protein digestion as well as the glucose level, for the glucose assimilation. Then the pituitary gland that creates or secretes. You know, we have studied in 9th standard that the pituitary gland is the endocrine gland which is important and which has the total control over the body. Then the muscle, that is for muscles, actin and myosin are there and they are important in contractile activity of the muscle. Then blood has the hemoglobin, which is the heme, that is iron carrier. So iron is provided to the blood and thereby the oxygen through the RBCs. So this is all about the various types of proteins and the amino acids. Now find that if excess of proteins are there, sometimes if there is the imbalance in the intake of any organism, there is excess of particular nutrients. So if the proteins are excess, then what happens? That proteins, they are converted into ammonia and it is eliminated out of the body. And if it is necessary, if it is required, then the proteins also undergoes the glucogenesis, that is glucose is formed. Proteins are converted into glucose. From protein, glucose is produced through the process of glycogenesis. This is all about the animals. Then about the plants also we should discuss. That the de novo are the various types of enzymes and the amino acids. Then the chloroplast in the plants itself is enriched of the Rubisco enzyme, which is necessary for the protein synthesis. So when required, these proteins are produced by the plants with the help of these enzymes. So plant and animal both require proteins. Proteins are said to be the body builders, and we get 4 kilocalories energy from 1 gram of protein. So if the need of energy that is served by carbohydrates, then the proteins are used for the bodybuilding. As I explained yesterday, if there is a hunger, if there is a fasting, and if you do not consume the carbohydrates, then the protein has to cope up with all that need of the energy, and proteins are used. So there should not be imbalance. Carbohydrates, proteins, fats, every nutrient that should be consumed, and our diet must be balanced. If it doesn't happen, then what will happen? That the proteins are used to serve the need of energy instead of bodybuilding. So each have their own functions, and that function should be performed by all of those nutrients if we consume it in a right way or in the balanced amount. So this is all about the proteins. Then we shall study about the fats and the lipids. Okay. Thank you.